Welcome back, my friends, to the Predicted Playbook. We're at Manny's Irish Pub Sports Betting Show, and that's exactly what we're going to talk about each and every day, Monday through Friday. We usually start at about 4:05, but this was week one, and as we were talking backstage, fatigue becomes an issue among guys like us because we're really not sleeping very much, and we're trying to get all the information possible so that we can not only make money for ourselves, but make money for our clients. And a lot of times, guys like you and me, I think, do the right thing. We put our clients first, and that's the way it should be. But we now are officially into week one. I think last night, Tony, I learned nothing from that game. I learned that Tom Brady is still a stud. I want to see the next-gen stats on his velocity and spin rates. But that one touchdown pass had to be zooming in there in the low 70s minimum. You know, if that's a 75-mile-an-hour pass and you know that for a fact in the chat room or Tony Finn knows it, I would believe you. So this is not going the way of the Peyton Manning last few years where he could barely have the arm strength to throw the screen pass 30 yards across the field. But yeah. I still don't know who Dallas is. I mentioned to you that I thought the defense gave points to Tampa Bay, gave first downs to Tampa Bay because of mental mistakes. And Tampa Bay probably played one of their ugliest games since Tom Brady's has been a buck. He had turnovers. There was an interception there at the half. You kind of discount that, but still, the Bucs gave the Cowboys every opportunity to be 1-0 in the season. Yet I was reading the Dallas Morning News, and I turned on one of their local stations, and I have some contacts down there, some college buddies that keep me informed on what's going on. And everybody was psyched that it was a moral victory. How can you be psyched about a moral victory in a 17-game season? I mean, you can have a moral victory with the Philadelphia Phillies or a moral loss like they did last night. But a moral victory, like we took the reigning champions and Tom Brady to the brink. No, you didn't. You played bad enough that I actually think the Eagles might be competitive against you guys.
What did you think? Are you speaking of those that were professing that it was a moral victory? Would that be the press, essentially?
Well, who was it? The fan base. The fan base. I run that sentiment reading in Twitter. Yeah. On Fridays, and the Cowboys' sentiment was much better than I thought it was going to be. Significantly better. Probably one of the biggest sentiment readings I've been wrong on in recent memory. So they're all bullish. The fan base very supportive. A common term on Twitter. It was mentioned out of the 1,100 tweets that my app identifies, Dak is back phrase was mentioned 405 times.
It's catchy.
All right, well, Ezekiel Elliott struggled. So, again, it's an 11-man team or 11-man unit the last time I checked. Yeah. But for the show, I gave out on this show yesterday. I gave out the under 26 in the first half, and that was a disaster.
Well, the total,
I did say, and we never got the over because I did say the condition was that bet had to win first. Then we would have played the over. Yeah. But that bet never got done because we didn't win the under. But what were your takeaways from that game last night?
Well, my takeaways were this, and that is, it's funny. I'm going to go. I'll talk, and I'll do the investor speak, and that is, this is a game that we talked about at length, really, on this show yesterday, and I was fairly passionate. Call it whatever you want. I was convinced that it was a horrible situation for Dallas, and there was 100 variables that basically didn't favor the Cowboys and favored Brady, the home team, Super Bowl champions. And after we the three of us outlined those, talked about them, and talked about the pros, the cons, the things that we think should happen, the things that we all know can happen. At the end, we all said, listen, they still got to play the game. Weird, stranger things have happened. And if something's going to happen, I'm never surprised at week one. Never, ever am I surprised at what happens. And I also, do my best not to overreact to anything that happens in week one and carry that into week two, because if you do, in my experience, if you do that, then what happens is it becomes kind of a domino where all of a sudden you are off every single week. You're off. What you're seeing isn't, your lying eyes are putting you in a situation where you're not going to be successful. And that's, for me, it's years and years of it. But here's what I got out of it. Dallas couldn't run the football. They couldn't run the football. Bottom line is they could not run the football. And you saw some really good reads. You saw Dak stand up tall and brave in that pocket and complete some passes that really surprised me. You saw some typical week one stuff where sometimes holding on to the ball, and unless you've taken, 30 minutes of full contact, live contact, full speed hits, that you make mistakes. And you saw that from Tampa. Tampa, when they fumbled down there inside the 5 with 4 minutes to go in the game, they were going to go in and score there. If they don't fumble there, for those who had Tampa Bay, I think you would have covered. I think everything changes. See, at that point in time, Dallas they can go for 3, but then they had to do an onside kick. Their intentions and their aspirations at that point is to score a touchdown, not a field goal. So everything changes. But for the most part, to be transparent, I was on Tampa Bay. I released Tampa Bay. And I was very descriptive on how I saw this game playing out and who both teams were going into this game. And again, let's understand that anything can happen on any given Sunday, especially in week one against professional athletes that are, for the most part, especially in week one, are pretty proud and pretty motivated and have, their desire is to win at all costs. But I don't think Tampa Bay played pretty poorly in many, many aspects. Brady was fortunate a couple times. He made some poor decisions that worked out that he would not make. He probably will never make again this year. He just doesn't make those at this point in his career. And I thought Dallas played, for the most part, with Tampa, knowing that they can't run the football, knowing that Dallas is going to throw the football. How many times did Dak throw the football last night? How many? 80? Of 60?
I was going to say it was over 60. Completed.
When they knew it. And he still, that receiving corps still found ways to get separation, make good catches. In a nutshell, those teams aren't even close. In 4 weeks from now, I don't care how inspired and how optimistic the Dallas fan base is or the press is in that area. These two teams aren't close. They're not going to be close in 4 weeks. I never once felt like Dallas was going to win that game, even when there's a minute 20 and Brady is chipping away at 5 and 6 yards and they can't get out of bounds because there's no timeouts left for Tampa Bay or they have won. I never thought he was not going to get them in field goal range. Never did I think that. And in the end, I thought they were, all things equal, a play here or a play there. A play here or a play there, Dallas might pull the upset. A play here or a play there, and I think Tampa Bay wins by 21. So that's a pretty big gap there of how I saw and visualized that game. And I'm not biased. I mean, I was on Tampa, but I try not to be that way. I just, when I see a game, if I see something I don't like, then I'll be the first to say, listen, I was wrong. I don't think I was wrong about that game. I'm more than satisfied that I was on the right side. Like I said, week one's always it's that crapshoot, and I'm sure that you feel that way. I'm positive Rob will chip in and say, listen, That he said it yesterday. A lot of time to prepare. Dallas did a great job of preparing, and they execute. They played as good. That may be the best they play all year. I'm telling you, I was impressed with what Dak did under the circumstances.
Yep, I agree. Hey, Rob, what is going on with you these days?
Good afternoon, fellas. We rushed over here from college football today. Tony should be right with me or right behind me.
Okay, so I better check the waiting room, huh?
Anthony.
He's probably stranded in there, and sure enough, there he is. He's waving at me. But it doesn't look like he has all his fingers, and he's waving at me.
Rushing over here.
It looks like he lost like two fingers on either side.
He's launching. He's hungry.
Oh, he's got all his fingers.
All right. Full hands.
Welcome, Tony and Rob.
So we walk across the hallway and we get here.
And Finn is absolutely right. I was on the losing end of Bucks and Cowboys as well. And, I mean, he said it succinctly, which is props to you, Finn. I couldn't have said it better or more clearly. I mean, look, I expected to win. Godwin goes down, and I don't mind the effort on that. Godwin goes down instead of reaching for that one more yard, and you got the ball at the 3-yard line instead of the 2 in the fumble. And you score and you're up 9, and it continues that way, and you probably win by 9. But anyway, but props to Dak, because I didn't expect him to play as well as you did. And props to Kellen Moore, and they said on the broadcast, probably going to be a head coach very soon. I agree with that, and makes me feel old, as old as you guys, because considering I watched that guy play at Boise State a few, over a decade ago. And certainly, he recognized immediately that they weren't going to beat their that interior front without the COVID guy. The name escapes me right now. Yeah. There you go, Zach Martin. They made accommodations, and the injury too to Tampa's top corner really hurt. So from that standpoint, they were able to pick on some people.
Yeah, if there was one, you're right, Tony. If there was one soft spot that Moore could have schemed to, I think in in-game, both pre-game or pre-flop and in-game, he did a good job. Moore is a smart kid. He, his last year in the league, he played pretty well for the Chiefs. I think that was his last year, wasn't it, when he was replacing the injured Mahomes, when Mahomes got that knee deal. You remember that? Would have been his first season. Moore was terrific. Maybe the best of his career. Of course, he's playing with a pretty good team too. So, but he's a sharp guy. I think he'll do well in this position. Whatever he does moving forward, he's the kind of guy that you expect to succeed. A guy that can live in the NFL that long and barely get a snap or two here or there, or a chance, and not succeed at that. Those are the guys that typically succeed as a coach, isn't it? Yes.
Yeah. I agree, Alex. Nice comment there. I see a lot of new names too. Amsterdam, what else? Haven't seen this name, so welcome. And no debating that either.
No.
But that's good. It's Friday afternoon. And I'm going to.
What did Rob see? Rob, what did you see in that game? How about Rob? I know three of us. You agree with us, or you think we're all crazy?
Well, I'll say this from a Dallas perspective. If they can shred that defense that way, then regardless of whether or not they can beat Tampa to get out of the NFC, they'll win the NFC East. I mean, Washington would have to have. And maybe they will have a huge improvement in offense. But, the way they went through that defense last night without Zach Martin, again, was really, really impressive on the Dallas side. We sat here yesterday, and we did talk a lot about it. And, we tried to compare Kellen Moore, Andy Reid, and Eric Bieniemy. But Kellen Moore had the 6 months was the advantage, we said. And, boy, he came up with a great game plan. Dak really under no pressure. The Tampa Bay pass rush was insignificant. I just can't see the Giants beating Dallas. If Dallas can score that way, that often, put up that many yards, miss a field goal, miss an extra point, get shut down inside the red zone a couple of times, I can't see the Giants being any better. Philadelphia is certainly, with that defense, will get raked over the coals. It leaves Washington, and if Washington has enough offense, maybe. But they don't have Tampa Bay's offense. So, in all, I think if you're Dallas, the long run, the big picture, NFC East picture, you have to be happy. Now, can they get out of that conference? And Tony, you were really comparing Dallas to Tampa. And there's, unless they really improve on the defensive side of the football. Let's remember it was their first game. Dan Quinn already getting kicked around in the teeth for that defensive performance. But it's the first game out with a brand-new defensive system, and they're shuttling linebackers in twos. Remember yesterday when we talked about how the two starters from last year, Van Der Esch and Jalen Smith from Notre Dame, weren't even starters anymore because Micah Parsons and Neal took over for them. They're shuttling linebackers in 2 and 2.
Now, Van Der Esch did start, if you notice, but he was in and out, just like you said. From what I saw, when I did see him on the field for the first defensive play, but that's irrelevant. You were absolutely correct. They were doing some different. The scheme was different and how they were shuffling. You see that with defensive linemen, but not with linebackers.
Not often. No. And Jamal Dean, for what it's worth, and it was mentioned a few times yesterday, he's a real good cover corner. They went after him and after him and after him. How many times were you going to throw the ball to C.D. Lamb? Just keep throwing it to C.D. Lamb because that's the guy covering him. Boom, boom, boom. Had some big catches, had some drops. But I think, again, Dallas did more than expected in that game, way more than expected. And where that lousy division they play in is concerned, unless you see something different, you could obviously see something different on Sunday out of the gate. I would have to say I think they're the best team in that division until we see Giants, Philly, Washington play. I think Washington could give them trouble because Washington's got that pass rush, and Washington should be better offensively.
They will be.
I even think Washington's a real good side on Sunday against the Chargers. I think they're a real good side.
If you think the Beard isn't going to have a chip on his shoulder, listen, he's not going to take anything for granted. This is a guy that was 3-3 last year, completed 70% of his passes. He came off 2 wins at San Francisco and then destroyed the Jets 24-0 at home. And the next week, he's getting replaced by a guy who has basically never thrown an NFL pass. And he didn't like it. Untypical of him when it came to asking him, he was pretty vocal saying, this surprised the shit out of me, right, because of what he had done. Again, Miami at that point was looking to the future. He didn't take him too long to figure it out. And he's a smart guy. What is he, Harvard? He's a smart guy, right? But this year, he's going to be balls to walls. And this is a bad spot for Hebert in week 1. Or Herbert, however you want to pronounce it.
Right.
As John and I talked. I like Washington. I think they'll compete.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
He's not Bobby Hebert, Tony.
No Bobby Hebert.
No, it is Bob. It's Bobby Hebert's son.
No, it's not.
It's the guy who used to who's the guy who used to critique the movies, Siskel and Hebert, right?
Hebert.
I listen. I can't tell you how many times I've called him Hebert, and that pretty much dates me, doesn't it?
I remember Bobby Hebert.
Yeah. We remember him on the Michigan Panthers in the USFL.
That's crazy. But I think if Antonio Gibson.
There you go.
If Antonio Gibson really takes that step forward and they've got a running game and a guy that can catch the ball out of the backfield, then Fitzpatrick's going to have a much easier time. I like De'Ami Brown, the kid out of Carolina, to help McLaurin. Cam Sims is a pretty good receiver. So, Washington can give them – if that offense is decent and they get some protection, they've got Charles Leno, the Bears turnstile at left tackle, so that worries me, and Eric Flowers, who had his issues with the Giants. Right. But if they can get decent offensive line play, that defense is going to show up. But I'm in agreement. I think the Cowboys are now the favorite in that division.
And the backup there, who we saw against Tampa Bay in the playoffs last year, the Old Dominion quarterback, I'm missing his name now.
Heineke?
Taylor Heineke. If Fitzpatrick should go down, and if the offensive line is a little bit leaky. It can't be any leakier than it was in that playoff game or overall last year, but certainly when they played Tampa in the playoff game and played them tooth and nail, covered the game. I think they were +8. They covered that game pretty easily. And the offense, and especially Chase Young on the defensive side, big proponent, big fan of Taylor Heineke last year. So they're in pretty good shape where quarterback is concerned. If they can get consistent offense, they'd be the team I'd fear. But the other two against Dallas, boy, it doesn't look too pretty.
Second fewest yards, fourth fewest points in the NFL. Washington's defense. Defense.
Oh, yeah.
The old adage, that defense wins championships, is dead. It's as dead as it's got as much chance coming back as landlines do.
Yeah, but pass rush kills quarterbacks. That's
right.
what they have most of all is the pass rush.
Yeah, what defenses do, however, is they keep you in games and they cover big numbers. And there's a few games in week 1, if you want to discuss them, we can, that I find that situation where a team's going to be pretty good or look pretty good in week 1. That's not who they really are, who they're going to be in week 8. And
for sure.
Yeah, and I think Dallas, as much as you guys have given the Cowboys some butt slaps, and I agree. That division is what it was last year, and maybe Dallas stays healthier and they're a little bit better than they were, and Washington doesn't get as fortunate maybe, and everything in the world is right, at least for us, because we need to have some semblance of predictability for us to succeed as well.
Yeah. I think what we saw out of him last night offensively, again, Prescott we worried about. Without Martin, we worried about. And come to find out against a really, really good defense, you didn't have to worry too much. As a guy who had the first half over 26, they made it real easy on me, so we got out of the gate quick. But what Dallas totals from here on out, right? I mean, can we be staring at anything less than openers of 55.5, 56 with this team? I would doubt that you're seeing – last night we got away with 52 for a game. I don't think you're seeing that again anytime soon with that offense.
Listen, I like the under in that game for lots of reasons that did not play out probably. But I'll tell you right now, it wasn't 2 weeks ago when I saw Dallas. I said basically if Dallas is going to win games this year, they're going to win it by outscoring their opponent, because I don't care what you saw yesterday defensively or Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay, they dropped some balls like Tony said. There's a lot of things. This team could have had 600 yards of total offense. Really, this defense still has a lot of holes in it, and a good offensive coordinator will find those, and take advantage of them on Sundays. We'll see.
Yeah, Cowboys had 4 takeaways and still got beat, and whatnot. So, yeah, certainly, I think the Bucs were the right side. I was really fortunate to win Bucs -4.5 first half, because it looked like I was going to lose it there, and then it got pushed back, and so blessed there, because it made me feel better about losing full game when I shouldn't have. So
you can thank Greg Zuerlein for that extra point. Where the hell was he kicking that ball? Jeez.
I don't know. And then he straightened himself out. So credit to him. But he looked like a disaster earlier.
But listen, I thought he had a chance to make that. He still got a leg, because I thought that 60-yarder had a chance.
It had a chance for a while.
Yeah, from the angle. I said, did he kick? If that was straight, would have made. Then they showed the other angle, and he looked like he was about 3 or 4 yards short. But a pretty good kick, pretty good leg still for a guy who's 105 years old.
Yeah, no doubt.
Well, I want to talk about the Redskins. You guys were giving me a good segue into this.
The Washington football team, John.
Well, I have a problem with it, and I'm gonna act like I'm pissed off right now. And I did send an email to the owner Snyder and said, do something positive for your team. You've owned them for how many years? More than a decade. At least change the name.
Yeah.
So I get
there's people that like the WFT thing, though.
Well, how about just the hog?
But you don't.
I like the red hog.
Well, it is good, but it's affecting more than just me in this world. The name, Circus Sports Million, comes out with their lines. Okay, and I'm going to share them with you. Yeah. And this is irritating to me.
I'm going to enter my pick.
I see how Cowboys, Bucks, right? We see that. It all fits, right? Mm-hmm. And we scroll down, and what the heck is this? Washington Washington 1. What team is that? Iron
watching.
Condors would fit perfectly in that spot.
I don't think so. I don't think I like it, but I don't think it even fits.
Well, they call them the Condors.
1, 2, 3,
Yeah,
Be the Iron
they're either
Tom.
going to be the Red
Be the
Hogs
Iron-
or the Red Wolves, and both will fit there.
But we're not allowed to use colors, I thought, anymore.
The Washington.
I'm
the
pretty
Washington
sure that's what's
especially
going to
red.
win. I would bet you pizza money on one of those two being the choices.
I think you're right. I think you're right.
I think
And the other
counting
thought I had
spaces,
listening
John,
to you guys.
I think
What's
Iron
that?
Condors would fit. I'm counting
I
spaces
think it would.
here.
Really?
I think it would fit.
I think I'm going to send it to
Maybe.
the Circa and my
Maybe it
suggestion
would.
and have them email. In fact, I think every contestant in the every entry in the contest should be obligated to send an email to Snyder saying we want it to be the Iron Condors.
What the hell are
Washington,
Iron
I
Condors
mean,
anyway?
Yeah, I don't-
they
I don't
they
know.
would drop out of the sky.
I know
Iron
this.
Condors.
If you're changing the name of your team right now, it has to be something. You can't just name your team the Chiefs or it's going to have to be something like the Steelers, something that's associated with the demographic, with the community, with that's relatable. And I've never seen an Iron Condor unless, I haven't watched Animal Kingdom or Animal Channel, whatever it is, quite a while. Maybe they have Iron Condors. I don't know, but I like your thinking, but they're not happening.
You can't.
Red
It's
Hogs
Friday
would be
afternoon,
unique to
and
Washington, though.
I
Everybody
know
would
I'm
say,
right.
"Okay, it's a nod to the Skins, and then a nod to the Hogs, and bam!" And nobody else has it. The Red Wolves, Arkansas State uses the Red
Yep.
Wolves, so yeah, I mean, I think that's a no-brainer. But I guess they're dragging their feet on
Name it Gibbs, Washington Gibbsters or something.
The Gibsters.
like the Bee Gees.
Okay, yeah. Riggins, the Riggy boys, Riggins boys,
Well, there you
Gibbs,
go.
yeah, the
Mohawks.
Hogs. That's why I like the
Can't
Hogs.
use that.
How
How about the
deal.
Washington?
No more time
Denali's?
wasted on Washington. Name, John.
I'm
what
going to
do you
waste.
like?
I'm going to waste more time on it because I do think I think Tony Mejia and I are in the circuit together.
Okay.
So Tony Finn and I were talking backstage. I haven't been in this since Tony was in it 5 years ago, and back then they didn't have the circuit. It was the Hilton, and I think that actually was probably a great contest back in that day. I mean, really well run, and I thought it was great. But anyway, in the circuit, I think the Chargers are going to be one of my picks. But this angle I'm going to show you here is the under. So ignore that ad, by the way, because that was a couple of days ago. But week one, this line has oscillated between the Chargers being -1 and the Iron Condors -1. I mean, it just flows off my tongue. I mean, it just it just feels good. Like Iron Condor. Are you a fan of the Iron Condors? You betcha. You a fan of what's your favorite team?
I think
The
a couple
football
pale
team?
ales, and I will not be able to say that. Like, a couple
Oh,
strong
my
beers,
God.
I will never be able to say Iron Con. I'll just like Washington.
I'll show you what an Iron Condor is before the show is over.
Okay.
So we have the
excited.
Chargers
Can't wait.
+1 in the circa, according to their line. But here the under, you're going to bet the under in the first half with the total between 21 and 24.5. And my under yesterday for the show, betting under 26, failed miserably in the Tampa Bay game. But this one, I think, is going to win. Team had a losing record, winning 6 or 7 games only in the previous season. 57, 23, and 2 under for 71% winning bets last 10 seasons. And by the way, this nonsense with a West Coast team having to go to the East Coast, it's bullcrap because the Chargers are 13-3-1 when playing against the NFC East. And everybody's 13-3-1 when playing the NFC East, and they're not part of that division. So I think the Chargers will be one of my 5, but I have to admit, Tony Mejia, you guys have been in the contest. Week 1 is probably the most nerve-wracking week because in the back of your head, you're thinking 0-5. I don't care who you are. Las Vegas Chris could be thinking the same thing. It's week 1. You want to get out to that 3-2 or better start.
it. No question.
But
Yeah, I dodged the bullet last night because Tampa Bay. I was going to play Tampa Bay -8, and then the lines were released, and I said Tampa Bay -9. No, I don't like that, and I don't have my other 4 ready. Can I find a 5th on Sunday or Monday? And I said yes, and I said all right, then I'm skipping Tampa. So I would have been really upset, even though it would have been a push. I was actually rooting for it to land on the number at 9, and then everybody gets a half point. So that played it, but. No, you know what I like there, which and might end up being a client play because I don't like that game at all, is the first half under, because you figure that there's a lot of playmakers on both sides of the ball defensively. Derwin James is back, Bosa, the pass rush for Washington. Maybe you have a conservative approach from both head coaches. We had a first-year head coach on one side, Ron Rivera on the other, but I'm not touching that full game under, and I'll tell you why, because whoever's down in that fourth quarter, be it Justin Herbert or Ryan Fitzpatrick, they're gunslingers. So they'll be out there trying to move the ball. We could get you could be sitting pretty at 35 with 5 minutes to go and lose.
The matchup I really like in this game is the first round draft pick Slater at left tackle, and he'll be going up against the reigning defensive rookie of the year in Chase Young. And I just happened to stumble upon it, but Slater played head-to-head against Mr. Young twice in the NCAA. And Slater did not allow a hurry, a hit, or even a sack. Wasn't even close to the quarterback. And I think that matchup there, if that translates into Sunday's game, that goes a long way to Herbert leading the Chargers to a victory. And the other interesting thing with Herbert is that he actually led the NFL. I'm looking at my notes here. Went under severe pressure, throwing deep vertical routes on the run for 415 passing yards and 5 touchdowns, and that led the NFL when he was under duress, as they call it. So I think those two things, if those two things happen again, I think the Chargers win easily. But nothing is easy in week 1,
right?
Especially in those eliminator contests. Week 1, Week 1 double-digit favorites are literally horrible. And from what I understand with that contest, you don't want to lose in week 1 in the eliminator. I think the idea is to keep advancing.
Yes, that's the idea.
The idea is to have played Tampa Bay last night, and if they lost, just go ahead and re-enter and then pick somebody else from Sunday's game.
True.
Yeah, free roll. That's exactly right. It's good strategy.
That was Las Vegas Chris put a tweet out about it, which I found pretty interesting. And I found, if you want to get rid of Tampa Bay, then here it is. I think, listen, the Circa is different. There's quite a few contests. The best one here, Stations does one where you pick against the spread. You can use the team as many times you want. None of that once, but you're playing against the spread. Last year it got to, I think, week 13, for instance, and a young lady. The entries were low, but a young lady won it last year. I think the top prize was only $70,000. This year they guaranteed I think 150. And here's the deal: if you win that eliminator in college and in the NFL, they are giving you a $750,000 bonus. So you take the 100 from college, 150 from the NFL, and it's $1 million prize. Yeah, and it's only a $25 entry.
Well, that's pretty solid.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say.
Yeah,
I would say. So with NFL Sunday coming, what's my question for you guys? If you were playing an eliminator, what team would you pick? Maybe we should have an eliminator contest among the 4 of us.
Eliminator, just straight up?
Yeah.
I've got the Bucks.
So he's already through. But you did that for real, though, right?
Did I think the Bucks were going to win? Yes. Would I have chosen them as my eliminator this week? No.
All right, well, then you have to pick another one then. That's the rules.
All right.
And I'm sure he'll make up another rule, too, as it goes along.
Uh,
Are you serious? Are we going to do this, or are you just
yeah.
spewing?
Are you guys in favor of doing? I'm kind of doing this off the cuff.
Yeah,
so to
that's fine
speak,
with me.
You know? And
As long
I'm
as
good
you
at
keep
writing
track
things
of it.
down.
Then
know,
go ahead. I know. Yeah. I don't think it's not difficult if it's a typical. We're trying to play a traditional eliminator, then we can only use a team once. And straight up,
I believe that would be
okay.
appropriate rules. I was just
Week
thinking
one
that
is
there's only
pretty easy
four of
for
us.
me because I agree. I do not want to be eliminated week one, and this is the game I think most likely. In my opinion, without question, this is the team that should have the best odds of winning, even if they were to, even if they were to be playing with 10 guys on offense, and that would be the Rams.
Yeah,
I like the Rams.
Quarterback.
Tony Finn.
That's just my opinion. I mean, I can really break it down, but that's listen.
Yeah.
I don't know. You guys watch Chicago. Is it a surprise to you that Fields isn't starting? Maybe it shouldn't be, but this Chicago team's not going to win much. Not going to win many games with under the circumstances. I think, personally.
Yep. Anybody else want to go next?
I'll go ahead and take the Buffalo Bills at home. I think there's a lot of issues with the Steelers' revamped offensive line. Got Watt practicing. I think he'll be fine, but he's not going to be T.J. Watt from mid-season form. So him being in the mix doesn't scare me as it would. You've got Bills Mafia in that crazy atmosphere, which should be pretty solid at home. And yeah, I mean, I unless Roethlisberger is able to spring a few big plays, I think they shut down Najee Harris, win that game. We'll see about the cover, but for Survivor Pool, I think they win by at least a field goal.
The Bills Mafia probably have the fixes in. Bills Mafia are going to make sure that they win. One way or another.
Yeah, the Bills Mafia don't play.
I'm going with the 49ers. I don't see. I shouldn't say it's going to happen, but I don't see any way Detroit, even at home, has a prayer of beating San Francisco. I think San Francisco wins by about 50. But realistically, I think they probably win by 3 touchdowns. I think that game's 3 touchdowns. San Fran has a lot to prove this year.
All right, so the teams that you guys took, you can't use for the rest of the year, right? They're done with?
Right.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Yep.
Okay.
And now, see, we're doing this off the cuff. Normally, I would have, looked at the schedule and started, plotting a path to success.
Look ahead. Yeah.
But we're shooting from the hip, man.
Oh.
In fact, my rule is you can't look at any games. You can't look at any of the next week's games until these games are over.
Okay.
No, I'm
honor
kidding.
System.
Come on.
No, honor system.
No, because I've already looked at. I'm already 3 and 4 weeks into the season right now.
I am changing my pick. And
what?
Already?
You could change your picks all of a sudden.
Yeah, I started this contest.
I told you. Rule. Did I just say he's going to change the rules already?
Yeah, because he realized he can't use San Francisco anymore. That's why all of a sudden it dawned on him.
What dawned on me was not necessarily that. It dawned on me that this is the week to take Jacksonville because it might be the only week that they're favored. And
are they?
Favored
Could they
Houston.
be that? I was surprised that they're that big a favorite. Not that they won't win, but it's not like Tyrod Taylor's terrible. And they certainly, I mean, what they do, they beat the Cowboys third and fourth stringers. Like,
oh, you mean preseason?
Yeah, I mean,
they've lost 18 straight games. They won in week 1 last year, lost the next 15. They've lost 3 straight preseason, 18 straight games, and now they're a favorite. That alone,
it's true.
That alone tells you. And listen, it's not like the sharps. Listen, when this got to 3, if the sharp money liked Houston here, this would be 2.5. They would have hammered that 3.
Right. That's
so.
true.
Yeah, so here you are. I mean, can Jacksonville
Yep.
lose? Of course they can. Of course.
They're pretty good at it.
Of course they can. They've lost 18 straight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go Jacksonville. I changed it.
All right.
I'm going to be bold.
Well, let's hurry up. Let's hurry up and put the wax on that envelope before he changes his mind again.
Yeah, they'll be sealed and sent to Cooper Anderson for review.
Like that
Sweet.
guy on the Johnny Carson show with that pickle jar. What the hell was his name? Hermetically sealed envelopes.
Yeah.
Who's Johnny Carson?
He was a guy that did blackface, back in the old day.
DJ Chark is back, I guess, huh?
What?
I said DJ Chark is back for the Jaguars.
He is. He's back and smiling too. Yeah.
We're giving too much time for Rob to give his pick.
Rob's listen.
If everybody's done, I'll take the Vikings.
All right,
I'll be the guy who goes out on
There we go.
a limb.
Yeah.
I'm going to have my
we
picks
got?
in by midnight for this contest, and I've got a bunch of teams that I'm weighing. I know I've got three definites, and then 2 I'm weighing. And I guess the Bills will be one of my definites, even though I don't like laying 6.5.
I don't blame you. Week
I
1.
have a
It's
dumb
week
question
1.
for you, Tony. The Circa has to be in by midnight tonight?
No, it doesn't. And in
Oh.
fact, I could do something until tomorrow because I'm using Kelly. But yeah, no, I usually like to have it done before all the college stuff hits, so it's out of the way.
I got a question for you. Does Circa allow you to, once you enter your place, if it's still at least prior to the deadline, can you change your picks?
I don't think that once I submit them to Winner Circle proxy service for anybody watching, that it is able to be amended.
Okay, I was just curious. I don't remember. I wouldn't. I probably wouldn't if I could change them because.
Oh, and you're killing yourself.
Listen, I'm changing my mind. You know those 5 plays I gave you? I want. Just change them all. What do you want to change to? The other 5 teams.
The other side.
Yeah. Who's this? I don't know.
Well, they're using a
so
portal too this year. You can submit them through the
Taylor Decker out for Sunday.
Circa portal.
Breaking news.
Makes
Who?
a difference.
What is it?
Lions left tackle Taylor Decker, their best offensive lineman, out. So
Oh, I'm back on the 49ers.
49ers,
I figured
49ers look really solid.
envelope sealed.
I might be eating chalk this weekend in these contests and on these picks, man.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think the 49ers would be a quality pick for the contest for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I know you never should say that there's no way a team has a chance to beat a team because they made a movie called Any Given Sunday, and that does happen a lot in the NFL.
You fight for every inch.
Yep.
It'll be one
Well,
of the
I have,
either highest or second highest percentage picks in that contest for sure. The Rams and the 49ers will be the 2 highest consensus picks in that contest.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. It's. You know,
And here's the deal.
5,
What's the number on the
30-ish.
Rams in that contest? Is the number 7 or 7.5?
I think 7.5.
Let me see.
Then
I'm almost
Then
certain
the
it's
49ers
7.5.
will be the number 1 pick in the consensus pick in that contest.
Yeah. And I would
Because
imagine
people love
Anthony
to
Lynn
do
is
that.
going to let Jared Goff off the leash, unlike McVay. So it'll be interesting to see how Goff plays in a new environment. But they lost Galladay. Who's their number 1 receiver now in Detroit? Let me see. I was just looking at their. They've got
Marvin Harrison Sr., unretired, came back.
Tyrell Williams, I guess.
Yeah.
They have one of the St. Browns. They've got Quintez Cephas, Trinity Benson. Good Lord, that's a bad receiving
And
core.
see, that's why I think you're going to see Goff is going to be Goff. I think he's going to hand the ball off a lot.
The kid from Georgia, if you have him
Yeah.
on your fantasy team,
DeAndre
he's going to
Swift,
get a lot of
yeah.
action.
Yeah.
He's going to get a lot of action.
49ers
I
are
think so.
7.5 at the circuit.
And the tight end, Hawkinson,
Yeah, Hawkinson's a good,
Hey, listen,
good
Hawkinson
fan.
may be the best.
Right.
Yeah.
it'll be his best friend.
Yes, it will.
But the way he stares down receivers, that's an issue. So,
well, I know that he's being paid to be successful. He got a pretty good payday this offseason.
yeah, but let's see.
I mean, he got payday close to a Kelsey and and of course your team, the San Francisco 49ers best receiver, Kittle.
He's a beast.
He's a a good block. He's just a good football player. Really is. Yeah.
We get D'Amico Ryans as a first-time defensive coordinator. That's interesting.
Yes, it is.
How aggressive he is because he's got to replace. He's stepping into big shoes with Salah.
Yeah, there's a lot of
Sunday.
Quinn. I'm really Dallas is intriguing to me because Rob and I talked a little bit about it. We'll see. I don't. Quinn and as Rob mentioned yesterday, Quinn and McCarthy are buddies, but it's a tough business. The NFL is a pretty tough business to be hiring your brother and your sister and your best friend.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
So let's get to our best bets for the show. I think.
Okay.
Good.
Late on a Friday, I'm getting a little hungry
guys.
here at the East Coast. So is Rob Vino. But one of these Fridays, Rob,
What?
we're gonna have to meet somewhere and eat and drink.
Rob
to
just
our
checked out for a
heart's
second.
content.
I think Rob was
Oh,
having
did
a
he?
problem hearing something.
Okay.
So he's probably in the
Yeah,
back.
that
He's
happened
back in the
yesterday,
back
too.
room. Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That happened yesterday as well. I don't know.
It happens to me when I have to go to the bathroom. I just pretend, and I just check out.
All right, so let's have Mr. F and Tony go first in the lineup, and then
free pick?
Tony Mejia, and then myself.
Free pick.
Yeah.
You know, yesterday I had my free pick was for tonight. You remember?
Well, I have it written down. What was it?
I said you could play Coastal Carolina minus 50 and cover.
Oh, that's
so,
right. Yeah. Yep. Yep.
And right
So-
now, 26 points. So, oh, you know what? That was Rob. He checked out. I think he had a Missouri show. Remember? He's got that
Oh, that's
Missouri
right.
Tiger show.
Yep.
He's got to fly into Columbia for 15 minutes. And,
Yep.
you know, listen, when you fly in the Ozarks, it's not safe. There's no landing strip that's safe. So,
Yeah, he had Cleveland minus a half, first 5 for the show.
yes.
And anybody recall what the score of that game was?
They won. And they were ahead.
I
They were.
thought
Listen,
that-
I was sorry. I didn't get that in. I had not gotten my plays. We did a show. We were so late yesterday. I passed because my only 2 plays were early, and I'd forgotten I had not entered them, so I just left them out. And of course, they both won. Thanks, John, by the way.
My 2 prop bets split. So first half under 26 points in the Bucks game, lost, but Brady completed 32 passes, I think. So I went over 25 and a half.
We were laughing yesterday at some of the props saying that both quarterbacks would throw for more than 300 yards, and I said, hell, Brady may not throw for more than 300. Well, hell, they were both at 300 yards at halftime almost, weren't they?
We did laugh at it.
Yeah, I did.
Didn't
I laughed at it.
Dak finished over 400, didn't he?
I think, well, he threw the ball 100 times. He better have.
Yeah. He had 60-some attempts.
Yeah.
42 completions, I believe.
They couldn't run the football for the life if they had to save their life. So, okay, let's go baseball tonight. What do you say?
Okay.
And I'm gonna step into my underdog. You know, like the cartoon character underdog. I'm gonna step into the underdog of the day role today, and I'm gonna swing with Lynch in Kansas. Well, I tell you what, I really like Lynch in Kansas City, but I'm gonna make it even bigger dog. I like some dogs. I'm gonna take the Red Sox and Hoke against Rodon. I don't believe. Listen, I think this is just so you know how and why. It's really simple. Hoke has the ability to miss bats. He needs to go 5. Boston desperately needs him to go 5, But I think this is a game where Chicago White Sox are throwing out a guy that was injured, hasn't pitched in a while, and in truth, this is the most innings. He's already eclipsed innings that he's had in prior seasons, and I think they're going to handle him with kid gloves. And I think this is more of a side session. They want him facing live bats. I don't think he's going to go more than 3 or 4 innings. And in truth, look at his numbers. Look at his game log for the last month, or when he was healthy for the last 6 or 7 starts. Wasn't very good. And Boston, if you're gonna weigh motivation into this game, it's not close. I think Boston is an absolute steal at $1.45. I'll take the Red Sox as the dog in the south side of Chicago against the Pale Sox.
I like that pick too. It's been a while since I rolled my eyes at one of the picks, but obviously, you guys are brilliant, so why would I ever not agree? Well,
I think that you're giving me far too much credit. Anthony might be brilliant, but I'm brilliant. I'm a brilliant idiot. Okay, there you go. That's it.
And you have the Red Sox full game or first 5?
I just full game. Full game.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Mejia.
All right. Well, I'm going to have everybody eating chalk tomorrow. And this is a client play, too. So whoever's watching, you're getting a freebie. It's SMU against North Texas. SMU hosting. These schools are separated by Denton's just outside of Dallas. And it's an interesting game because both teams dominated their debuts, but I think SMU's got a chance to put together a special season. They had the Oklahoma transfer Tanner Mordecai throw 7 touchdown passes against who are they playing? Abilene Christian. Abilene Christian was actually decent last year, but they're terrible this year. And they won 56-9 as a 33.5 point favorite. The Mustangs did. And look, they've got talent on both sides of the ball. They've got a healthy Reggie Robertson back. He probably would be in the NFL if he hadn't tore up his knee last season. And so he's back. He's healthy. He scored a touchdown. And North Texas hasn't been able to find a quarterback since their all-time passing leader graduated. Their UQB is Jace Reuter. He only had 131 passing yards last week, I should say. They had somebody run up for 244 yards and 3 touchdowns against Northwestern State. That's not going to happen against SMU. Spread's 22.5. I'm laying, and I'm expecting a big-time blowout as SMU starts serving notice that they're probably the 3rd best team in the American behind Cincinnati and UCF.
And don't blink.
I like I'm writing it down.
Don't blink in this game, guys, because I think, Tony, you would know. It looks like you've got your due diligence. I think both teams average more than 150 plays per game. This pace in this game will be incredible. It's going to be fun to watch if you like points, I think, and you like yards. Yeah.
Total is 73.5 right now.
I like the over. I like over 73.5
out there. Yeah. Yeah, and yep. Smart money is on the over. It opened at 72.5. Yeah. I think it'll be lopsided enough to where I don't want to mess with that total. But yes, it could certainly be like 56-31 and cover both ways easily.
The winner needs to score 50 points, I think. So
absolutely.
If you like 50 points, and if you think both teams are capable of that, then I'd lean to the over. It's one of my picks. So there's my freebie. If you're listening.
Are you like SMU too, or the over?
You have a side and total in this game.
Well,
and whoever misses.
I'm going out on a limb, guys, and hopefully I won't embarrass the show too much with this pick. But a game that hit me right when I looked at the card on the college football card for tomorrow is Toledo. I'm taking Toledo plus the points against Notre Dame. During the first 4 weeks of the NCAA regular season, teams that have 7 more returning starters than their opponents have a huge advantage. Toledo returns 21 of 22 starters, while Notre Dame returns just 9 and just 3 on offense. I think we saw the vulnerability last week in the Notre Dame defense. You know, I give all the credit in the world to Milton. What a comeback! What a story! That it should be made into a movie. But I think when I looked at it again and looked at that, the shortened, the condensed version of the game, I think Notre Dame is really not quite as good as we thought they were. And I'm going to do my infamous combination wager, 0.9. So if you bet $100 a game, you're going to put 90 on Toledo with the points, plus 17. The remaining $10 you're going to put on the money line, and it's currently plus 650 at the Westgate. So I know this is going out on a limb. My credibility in doing this was I was on a live show on a Saturday. It was Florida LSU, and I'm not making it up because the video exists, and 27.5 point underdog LSU, and I said they're going to win. I don't know why I actually said that. And I was even more shocked when it actually happened. So the point of doing this is to, actually show an example of the chat room of some of the stuff that the three of us do. And if you have an underdog, and generally I don't stretch it out this far, but if you have an underdog, another example would be Akron playing Temple. Okay, so Temple is not a good team. Neither is Akron. But Akron is a team that I think can win that game. And it probably might be one of my plays. So they're 6.5 point underdogs. You do probably, I would suggest $80 on Akron plus the points, and then $20 on the money line, which I think is around $220. You do that over the course of the season, and you hear everybody at Wager Talk talks about sprinkling the money line once in a while. That's exactly what it is, and it will, in a disciplined manner, if you do it like we're just described, it'll potentially add more to your bottom line at the end of the season. And the point being that we don't know what's going to happen with Akron. We don't know what's going to happen with Toledo. They could get blown out by 50. We don't have crystal balls, and nobody in the world does have one. But if you do this process over the course of the season, it's gonna help.
My psychic has a crystal ball.
What's that?
My psychic, she has a crystal ball.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Do you go to like astrology people too?
No, she tells me I do. It's all over the phone. 900 number.
Wow.
Yeah, she's got a gypsy last name. I don't know what it is. Something like. They made some song out of it too. I think Cher sung it. I don't know, something like that.
Yeah. So
didn't she? Did Cher sing it? Some gypsy something. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
That's right.
I like to play. I like money line. Listen, I like money lines. I like sprinkling money lines. I do it a lot. I don't release a lot of them because it requires a lot of work to explain that to people.
It only took me like 2.5 minutes, I think.
Yeah, well, you do a better job. I don't do a very good job of explaining anything.
The point that people have to understand is you don't do that with small favorites. It has to be a dog, and it has to be a dog of at least 4.5 points for it to really pay off. Because the spreads in the money line, as the three of us know, are way different, and they have bigger spreads, vig, and that is what the book makes. So
Listen, I have no problem. This week, for instance, I think that if you like North Carolina State, for instance, and just an example, John.
Yep.
You might, instead of laying the one, maybe you lay the minus 115 and pay the 5 cents, and that way. Listen, college football games can end in ties.
Yep, I like that
this year.
They're right? minus 1.5, right?
Minus one, most places, but. In that situation, I don't want to be minus one. If it ends at a tie and there's no overtime, at least I want to do is come out of there with my money. So that's just
I agree.
That's just me. Yeah.
Syracuse is playing somebody too that Rutgers. That's a game that I think Rutgers is minus 1 and minus 1.5. That would be a good place probably to play the money line if you like Rutgers.
I'm a big proponent of that.
Yeah.
Especially on the road.
That matchup, I think Rutgers is clearly the better team, and that makes even more sense that you would play the money line in that game.
I don't think so, and I'm not touching it. I think Rutgers had too many short fields last week against Temple to really gauge that. I mean, Vedral, who started his career here at UCF, he's a good quarterback. He's got command of the system, but he was underwhelming last week. And Syracuse had the better win. They beat Ohio by 20. The Solich isn't there anymore, but his top assistant is.
I think that's good. That's good intel. I mean, I tried to look for some aberrations, in those early games. And listen, Michigan wasn't. They were impressive, weren't they? But they really weren't who they are. I mean, consider Michigan had 4 or 5 touchdowns outside the red zone. Some 54 of their scores, I think it was 4 of them, were lengthy.
They had a couple of reverses. They had the bomb.
Right.
Absolutely.
And so those are the kind of things I like you just said, if you have too many short fields or you have too many of those kind of touchdowns, those kind of points, I typically step back and take a longer look. So it's good intel by Tony.
Yeah. And they've gone out of their way to say they were hiding stuff for this Washington game, which is interesting because this Washington game is split because of the game of the year lines and all of that. I guess it was Michigan -2, and now it's Michigan was it 3? And now it's 7, right?
Yeah, that's right. And that's a react. Listen, I don't think I think that it's Michigan. This is a pretty big game for Harbaugh. If you're a Michigan fan at all and you like Harbaugh and you think that they won't say he's on the hot seat, but listen, Harbaugh's a proud guy. This is a pretty big game. He has a chance to bury a team who I don't think will. I'm a firm believer that mortgage your house and play against the Pac-12 every friggin' Saturday, and you will come out ahead at the end of the year. Look at Week 1's Pac-12 play, and tell me that this conference deserves to be classified as a Power 5 conference.
Can we put in a caveat that Michigan is not one of the teams that will beat a Pac-12 team? Every other team except for Michigan.
Well, I mean, UCLA did a nice job against LSU, but no, I mean, he's
UCLA.
Who has faith in Oregon tomorrow against Ohio State? I mean,
listen, Oregon was they were pretty fortunate to win. Period. Too
against Fresno. Absolutely.
And if the guys that talk to me say, "No, Tony, they were looking ahead to Ohio State," this is what I say: if your boys are looking ahead in a season opener, then the coach needs to be replaced.
I agree.
Because it's a college season opener. You can't look ahead.
Yeah, and I don't think they were looking ahead. It was 14-0, and then Thibodeau gets hurt. The other guy, the linebacker who's not coming back, gets hurt.
That's right.
So they lost three defensive starters immediately, and then Anthony Brown isn't much of a passer, which is going to hurt them against Ohio State. So
I agree. With you.
To me, Oregon, USC were the 2 best teams in the Pac-12 to me, and I know there are people that like Washington too. I didn't see it.
I liked them. I liked Washington until last weekend.
Yeah, Dylan Morris.
Well, yeah, I know, but they were supposed to be a little bit better. I thought they would be a little better offensively than they were last year, and I'm not sure that I can't say they are now.
Well, that's where I'm pressing that button is if you get intel that the 4 wide receivers that are out, one is done for a while, but the other 3 who didn't play last week and are week to week, if they don't make the trip, then that's an easy button to press.
Yeah, you're right. I agree. It is, and I'm telling you that there will be no mercy. Harbaugh, not only does he need to win, it needs to be much like. Listen, what did you see last week? Which it turns my stomach a little bit because I think it's bad football, but. That USC Helton is on that same seat that Harbaugh is. And Helton's up by 17 or 16, and he's trying to score. He called a play that had the defensive back been 1 step, 2 inches closer. It's a pick 6, and all of a sudden there's 2 minutes left in the game, and if they convert, they could be only up 8. It was pathetic what Helton was doing.
I agree.
To essentially say, look how good we are. And I'm telling you, those things backfire. I'm shocked Helton's still there personally.
Yeah, no. We just talked about Helton on the college football show today because my top play for that show was USC over Stanford. Stanford has so many issues; they've already made a quarterback change. But yeah, certainly I said, look, this is my top play. It's a client play too. And if it loses, we blame Clay Helton because, there's no question. Like a young Stanford offensive line that made mistake after mistake, barely scored with 3 minutes to go to avoid a shutout against K-State. Now they're going on the road to the Coliseum. And Slovis basically said we were listless in the first half and, needed some time to wake up. But they've got a running game. They've got weapons on the outside. They should kill Stanford by 25. And if they don't,
if it's not for that pick six, listen, San Jose State's, if it's not for that pick six, they're in that game the whole way. So this is a pretty good San Jose team. They're a good team.
They are
a quality quarterback. Absolutely right. Yeah.
No doubt. And then, the USC defense was really good, which is another problem for Stanford. So, but to get to your point on Michigan, nationally televised game. This is an opportunity to presumptively go. Texas is back. Michigan is back. Type of situation before they lose again.
You may never see.
Next week.
You won't. I don't think you'll ever see in our lifetimes. You will never see College Game Day in Ames, Iowa, ever again. And if you don't think this is a big game for you guys are listening for the Cyclones tomorrow against Iowa, against Campbell, who's never beaten, huge. Yep. Now, that said, it's still the players still have to win, right?
Right.
But pretty big game.
Yeah, they've lost 5 straight in that series, 6 of 7. This is you got to show up for this one.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, fun stuff.
It's time for that trend to change. That's
so glad football's
material.
Back.
Very much so. All right, guys, we're good.
Well, listen, I'm done. I got to go. I've got to feed the cows and get the chickens, to get the eggs, and then I got to get back to work.
Yep, me too.
I got to water the dog and feed the lawn.
All right.
All right, so guys, thanks for your time. We recapped the plays: SMU minus the points, Toledo in the combination bet I outlined. Don't be surprised if that game's a lot closer than people think. And we have Boston Red Sox full game from Mr. Finn. Boston Red Sox is from Mr. Finn, and then Coastal Carolina. I do pity Kansas. If I had a son on that football team, I still would be very proud that he is playing in Division I level football team. I would be proud. It's not about necessarily being 0-16 or 0-12, but you're at the highest level just on one of the worst teams. So I'd rather be that small fish in a big pond than the biggest fish in a small pond.
Speaking of big ponds, before we sign off, you see this right here? Power 5. I was there when they were playing in the F.
Power 5. Big 12.
So.
I saw Cincinnati and a bunch of other teams are applying to the Big 12, I think.
UCF.
Yeah, Cincinnati, Houston, BYU, and UCF, they got admitted today, so that's the new Big 12. Yep. We'll see what divisions they could splice it up, East and West, and North and South.
They're gonna take over. They're the new SEC.
with K-State as the New Oklahoma.
Yeah. They may even bring Missouri back.
Yeah.
Say, look,
UCF goes from being the top Group of 5 team to the worst Power 5 team. Although Pac-12 is the worst Power 5 conference, but not perception-wise.
Well, you're right. No, they're the worst. Yep. In fact, I never include them. It's a Power 4. I release Power 4 teams, and then I release third world country teams from the West Coast.
Guam Tech. There you go. All right, guys. Thanks for your time, as always. It's been a great week. Look forward to you guys sweeping the boards this weekend, Saturday and Sunday. And on behalf of all three of us, sportsmemo.com, wagertalk.com, who power these shows, and the Predictive Playbook shows themselves, may all the wins continue to be yours.
Breaking news. Scott